If you are wondering why your brand is not growing, it's because you're not doing one thing more than everybody else. So now is the opportunity to say, what is my brand about? And what is it that I'm giving these readers? What are the pain points that my readers are facing? Why are they clicking on this? And now what can I give them that's going to be magic?
That was Brooke Lark, and we're talking about growing an email list on episode 42 of the Chopped podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today for the 42nd episode of the Chopped podcast. This is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. So what do we do here? Well, I share thoughts, stories, interviews, everything related to food blogging so that we can all learn together about what works with food blogging and maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. So, did you have a great Thanksgiving? We did. Sean and Addie and I went over to my niece's house and, we had a really good time. We had a lot of good food and family. And I just think there's something great about Thanksgiving for food bloggers in particular because, it's food. And we're also really enjoying, sharing recipes that we maybe have been working on for a while with our family. And I don't know, we're all into food. So it's just like, the event for food bloggers, right? So I wanted you to know I was thinking about you and hoping that you were having a great time. And I was looking forward to sharing today's episode with you. So what are we talking about on today's episode? Well, it's Brooke Lark with the site The Cheeky Kitchen. And she's talking today about how to grow your email list. And it's such an important topic because, we've all been there where we work really hard to grow our Pinterest following, or we work really hard to grow our Facebook following, or Instagram, or fill in the blank on whatever social media platform that you're working on at the time. And you do that. And let's say you reach 100,000 followers on Pinterest or whatever. And then overnight that changes because, they change their algorithm because it's their platform. And so then what was once a wonderful source of traffic for you is now not so great. And maybe it's just a matter of relearning a new algorithm and figuring some new things out. But the question just comes down to like, how often do you want to have to rebuild that and reinitiate or develop a list or those kinds of things. And so that's kind of the thought process behind building your own email list because you own that, you cultivate that list, and you grow a list of people who are very interested in your topic. And that's what Brooke is here talking with us about. And the thing I love about Brooke, well, first of all, she's a lot of fun. I think you'll listen to the interview and you'll agree. She's hilarious. She's really fun. She's gregarious. But more than that, she's got a lot of good information to share because she's been through this herself on her own site, but she's also had some clients that she's built email lists for as well. So I think that's, gives her a lot of good insights to share, both from a client perspective and from her own site. And so she shares a lot of good information. In fact, I loved what she had to say so much that I created just a quick little tip sheet based on the things that Brooke shared with us today. So you can go to choppedcon.com and click on episode 42, and you'll see the link to my kind of cheat sheet on how you can grow your email list. But I also want you to go to that page because Brooke has shared with me her tutorial on how to work on lead pages. And so if you're interested in establishing some lead pages, getting that software and building lead pages on your site as well, it helps to have some kind of inside tips on how to do it. And Brooke has shared that with us too. So I'm really excited about today's episode. Lots of great stuff. So in fact, why don't we just get right to it? So today's intro shout out is to Abby Thompson of The Frosted Vegan. Abby gave a shout out to ChoppedCon on Twitter as she was listening to episode number 35 with Tracy York. And Tracy was talking about work-life balance. And so here's what Abby said. Tracy, just listened to you on the Chopped podcast. Love it. Oh, Abby, we love you too. It was great finally getting to meet you at ChoppedCon in October. So in honor of Abby, everybody get out your smartphones, launch your podcast app, put on those headphones, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Brooke Lark of the site Cheeky Kitchen on the show today. Brooke, welcome to the Chopped podcast.
Thank you, Marley. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad to have you here, and for many reasons, and one of them being that, I just love your site, and I'm just so glad for the chance to get to talk with you. But also because we're going to be talking about email newsletters and how you can use that to drive traffic to your site. So I know it's something everybody's going to be so excited to hear about. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Good.
But first, I always like to kind of take a step back and maybe you could just explain a little bit about what it is that caused you to start your food blog.
Yeah, I actually started way back in the early days. I'm trying to think. I think it's been 9 years now. I was sitting over tea with a stay-at-home mom friend. We both had little babies, and we're happy with our lives, but had kind of entrepreneurial hearts. And she said, "Do you know that there are these women who are making money from these blogs?" And I was like, "Wow, do you think I could make $500 a month?" And she was like, "Probably," it was just this super pie in the sky idea. So I went home that night, logged on to Blogspot. I actually purchased the world's longest URL, conversationswithacupcake.blogspot.com. Everything that I know now about branding basically goes catatonic when I think about those early names in the early days. But anyway, started blogging and just had no clue what I was doing, but ever so slowly started to find my way around. And in 6 months, I was making $500 a month. And then, of course, started picking up actual clients. And of course, now it's a career.
And you're loving it?
I love it. I think that this is just far more fun than anything I thought that I would ever do in college.
And what was your background before? You were a stay-at-home mom, but what were you doing before that?
Yeah, before that, I have a degree in elementary education. So I hoped to never have to teach, but always had that as a backup option.
Well, we were talking about this before, but I really think there's some kind of connection between teachers and successful bloggers because I don't know. I think it's easy to think that people with a marketing background or PR background, that they would be the best people to be bloggers. But I seem to notice this trend that teachers are really some of the best bloggers out there.
Yeah. And, I think it's really funny because we have seen, back in the early days, I remember when the really long Pioneer Woman tutorials came out and thinking, wow, that is so amazing that she takes the time to teach you. So I don't know, maybe it's just that willingness to teach or something.
Or even just you've been educated and how to understand, let me say this differently. You understand how to break things down in a way that people can really grasp it and take hold of it. And I don't know, I just think there's something to that.
Yeah, either that or we all just love to cook and bury ourselves in cookies.
Yeah, that's right. So speaking of cooking, have you always been interested in cooking?
Yes. If I didn't know it when I started my blog that's what I was in, I'd never really thought what is my personal passion and brand? I was just what can I put on my blog post every day? And so food really quickly became the focus for me because every day I was making a recipe. So I remember it was the first 2 weeks I was whoa, I have to come up with something every day to keep all my readers entertained. Wow, this is really hard. It was all consuming to just come up with something interesting. And I remember one night over dinner, it was literally 2 weeks after I started Conversations with a Cupcake. And I was wow, I just made dinner because I don't normally use cookbooks. And I was if I just write down what I put in dinner, that's a recipe. And it was just this wow,
light bulb moment.
Yeah. And so, of course, once I figured out, oh, if I just write down what I'm cooking every day, because I did that kind of was my outlet for creativity or whatever, then I had a recipe. So before I knew it, the girl who didn't know what a blog was this food blogger who didn't even know what a food blogger was. So
So you didn't really even start out as a food blogger. It just kind of happened that's, what worked out for you.
Yeah, it just became that. I mean, Conversations with a Cupcake, my original title, obviously had something to do with food. So even subconsciously, I apparently was always obsessed with food in some form. But yeah, no, I didn't anticipate becoming a food blogger, but I'm sure glad that it's turned out that way because it's so fun to be a foodie.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in fact, it's weird. I feel the same way about myself. I never really thought of myself as a picky eater. And then when I start to talk about the things that I didn't like as in my childhood, I realized, oh, wait, I kind of was a picky eater.
Wait, I have really specific opinions.
Yeah. It's just when you start to give voice to it in writing and your blog, I think that's when you really start to realize, wow, I do, like you say, I'm a foodie. I like certain kinds of food, and it's kind of fun to share it with people.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun to kind of like, I think, like you said, like give word to that passion where otherwise it was
Yeah.
kind of this like, nebulous entity that you just didn't really think about. So to really have to like dive in and be like, no, this is a thing and I want to spend time on it and I want to understand it. At least it's helped me kind of drive my own passion that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise, followed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think the thing that's really cool about your site is obviously you've gone through a couple of transitions then, because if you started out with Conversations with a Cupcake and then you switched to Cheeky Kitchen, but you've also changed, the kinds of food that you blog about. I mean, you've kind of gone through, you've been risky in your blogging.
Yeah, I have gone from my Conversations with a Cupcake really kind of became about like grab a bowl and grab 2 sticks of butter to I went through my vegan
Mm.
phase. I went through a primal and paleo phase. And yeah, I feel like part of that was not really understanding what I was doing and needing to learn how to brand. And
Hmm.
part of that was kind of watching trends. But I think an even bigger part of that is, the marketing term that I just learned last month that is actually a real thing called pivoting. And I don't think it's a bad idea to watch the numbers, watch the metrics, evolve with the times, evolve with the, incredibly massive amount of information that we're all getting, and be willing to pivot your brand, whether that's a reflection, whether because it's a reflection of what you believe in or what is, reflecting on
Yeah.
your life or just what's working online.
Oh man, I love that term so much because I can stymie myself just because like I don't want to make mistakes. Like maybe I didn't like the way things happened at the beginning, and so then it's like I want to pick who I am and I want to be that forever. And nobody's like that. I don't know why I put that kind of pressure on myself.
Yes. Yes, it's really, really easy, isn't it, to kind of dig your heels in and be
Yes.
like, oh, this is what it's about. And yeah, when you realize like, oh no, over the course of a year, over the course of 2 years, as you learn, as you learn something else or read a new book or
Right.
find yourself in a frump or whatever.
Or you get diagnosed with a dairy allergy, whatever. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, exactly. Whether it's major or minor, there are
Right.
constantly changes in our life. So, yeah, it's been really important for me to not dig my heels in because I started as a personality-based blogger. Now, if I had started my blog and it was like NutellaandBacon.com, obviously a pivot would be hugely confusing.
Yes.
But I think when you're starting a blog as a freelancer, and, personality or voice behind that blog, being really authentic and willing to pivot is really, really a profound way to find great success.
Oh, I love that. And it's such a great reminder, like, just like I say, I take that for myself, but I've heard several bloggers who feel the same way too. Like, they want to go in a different direction. If they feel that, then there might be something they should, like you say, kind of put some numbers to it, investigate it a little bit, and see if that is a direction you want to move in.
Yeah, it's been really funny because this has been a huge eye opener for me. For the last year and a half, I've really been wanting to extract myself from my URL. Cheeky Kitchen was picked at a totally different time in my life. No one in America even knows what the word cheeky means. And, so on multiple levels, it's not the name that I would have chosen for myself. And I kept saying to my boyfriend, oh, okay, I bought a new .com today. Okay, I bought a new .com. I'm just going to switch to new .com. This has been the plan. I'm just going to abandon ship. And he kept saying, no, you've created social streams. You have, access to readers through these channels. Do not drop the name. And so as I started thinking about this, I realized that my next great pivot, which is actually in process and hopefully will be live with a brand new site this week, is actually pivoting away from that content. Because like you said, I've kind of felt burdened by all of the things that I've been and trying to manage blog posts with 4,000 different tags, and I organize differently and understand the way that I want my content to look now. And so all of this kind of evolution has brought me to a point where I'm actually going to completely abandon all of my old content and start with a fresh slate, but only bring
Wow.
over my Cheeky Kitchen URL. And that, being willing to finally pivot in that way, where I'm like, no, what I need to do is maintain kind of access to the people who know me, but I don't have to maintain the same voice. I can change. I can evolve. I don't have to feel tied to all of the things I've been because, I'm not those things anymore. They brought me to where I am.
Yeah.
But I'm not all of those things. I've been them, but today it's different. And so, so that's kind of my new pivot is trying to create a very highly responsive website that reflects the things that I always am. I'm always Brooke. I'm always a photographer. I'm always a foodie, but I'm not always a vegan. Sometimes on Friday nights, no. On Saturday mornings, yes.
Well, I would include you in the vegan family then, because I really feel like it's better to be inclusive than exclusive myself.
Yes. And we all have different brands, but I do think, really looking at your everything from the content that you're creating and your dissatisfaction maybe with where you are and your desire of where you want to be. Sometimes that takes a little bit of thinking outside of the box and being willing to pivot if you need. We really highly praise people, entrepreneurs who just keep sticking with it day after day. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if you have 8 readers and you still have 8 readers, or maybe you have 12, that growth is not hot. So why not toy around a little bit at the edges?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a big fan of the pivot.
I love it. And, I know there's a lot of people who have started their blogs a long time ago, and they kind of feel like those old posts can feel like dead weight. So I imagine they're going to be following you closely to see how this experiment that you're doing works.
Yes. Well, and I will say I've got to give you all of the thumbs up because the very first thing I do when I consult with a new blogger, a new brand, is I always say, buy your name, period. Don't get all creative with the title, just buy your
Yes.
name and then create a portfolio site. And if you want to do an offshoot blog underneath that, do that. So props to you for having it figured out way early. What
You mean by having your name and your URL?
By just having your name and your URL. I think that's just such a nice general way to approach a brand because then you can let it be anything that reflects you.
Yes, that is true. I don't have to stick with things within the kitchen. I can go into a lot of different directions because of that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about food photography for a second. Is that something that you feel like developed over time, or did you have a pretty good sense of how you wanted your style to be at the beginning?
Yes. Well, actually, my kids were just teasing me. They had pulled up a bunch of old pictures the other day because I used to use this horrible old point and shoot. And, I think it had like 500 pixels was the biggest I could take. It was everything was super grainy. And so in the early days, I would shoot these pictures like on a kitchen, like a chair. I would pull the chair out, set like a cupcake on it, and shoot with my little point and shoot. And then I would pull these like grainy pictures into, I don't even remember what program it was. And I would put like talk bubbles. So like the cupcakes were talking
Yes.
or they had eyes or they were saying things. And my kids were saying, why don't you do that anymore? And I said, well, because back then it worked because I was covering up the photography, but now I'm actually paying attention to photography and really getting into the technical aspects of lighting and studio setup. And it just looks funny to kind of overlay these like horrible, quirky faces. So that has dramatically increased. And I am a creative. I am not a tech geek. So that has come slowly. It took me like 8 years to understand the exposure triangle. It took me like reading all the Amazon reviews to understand what kind of cameras I wanted to buy. But I do feel like that's finally come a long way. And I feel really excited about continuing to increase my photography understanding and just learning about it. It's such a fascinating science.
It is. And don't you think that's kind of the exciting thing about a subject like food photography is that it feels like it's a constant learning curve. And I don't know, I feel intrigued by things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I do think I just said it's a fascinating science, but it really kind of is the intersection of art and science. So it's fun because it really
Yes.
pushes you. And I love it because I see the styles changing so dramatically. We've gone from
Yeah.
highly stylized, kind of trying to replicate maybe beautiful brand photos, to this very kind of loose, friendly, welcoming style of like Madeline Liu has it, where you just feel like you're like in her house. And so I've loved
Yes.
even watching just the way that we're setting up photos kind of evolve. It's really exciting.
It is really exciting. And what I love about that, just hearing you talk about that, makes me realize even more that we really don't need to be looking at some other, source for our own creativity. We can figure out what we want our photos to look like. And I love the idea of having it like, this is our kitchen table and it's a welcoming environment here.
Yeah, I spent so much money in the early days on props and props and props and plates
Yeah.
and napkins and all of these colors and everything. And I've really come down to this more like minimalist approach where I'm like, at least for me, having like really accessible photography that is done well, but is really simple, keeps me from getting burnt out. Because if I feel like you're already
Yeah.
having to post on Facebook and Pinterest, and you're already writing articles and you're already developing recipes, the last thing I need to do is hunt through like antique shops in the southwest of France for the 16th century pewter plate. Like,
Oh, wait a minute. That sounds like kind of fun, actually.
they're nice, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I was one of the big pivotal moments for me with my photography was just really saying, you know what? I don't need to do everything, and
Yeah.
so I'm going to keep it really simple to like beautiful food, very simple setups. I'm far more concerned about putting out good quality recipes and ideas than I am about like having the perfect napkin. And it's different for every brand, but for me, that's
Right.
helped me maintain, 9 years of content creation. So
Yes, I
yeah.
love that. That's really good. So, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk with you today was about this concept of email newsletters, because it's something that I hear a lot of bloggers talk about, and it's not an area that I think a lot of us feel like we've got down to a science. And it sounds like you've got some really good ideas going on. So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about that. Like, in particular, can you describe a little bit about the email newsletters that you've seen be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're in this really important place in blogging where we've had the luxury of thinking like bloggers, and we
Yes.
don't anymore. We have to start thinking like salespeople. We're
Mm.
competing with major brands who can do all of the same things that we can. Those major brands are creating voices and personalities just like us, and so
Hmm.
for us to really connect with an audience, we have to do the things that work, and those things that work have been done by direct marketers actually for a really long time. So that was the first thing that happened for me, is I actually got hired by a direct marketer um, in the fitness industry, and watching the way that he ran his business. He's creating online content, but he's never just created it for free. He didn't want to run ads. He wasn't, he was concerned about traffic, but of course the traffic was never tied to his income or salary. And so watching the way that he would sell to his audience, and he did not call them readers, they were consumers, or they were subscribers, really had me start paying attention. Like, okay, there's a lot going on in the direct marketing world that we bloggers haven't even touched on. And one of those things, of course, is email newsletters. And so watching him and then starting to play on my own, finding a way to integrate email newsletters and reader connection with kind of that traditional world of blogging and my personal voice has been a really fascinating journey. And I'm glad to say it's also been really successful. I've made incredible progress in just understanding what to do and how to do it.
Oh,
So
that's so
yeah, so
great.
where
So,
should we start?
yeah, well, let's start with one of the most basic questions I can think of is like, how do you get people to sign up for your newsletter?
Yeah. So that is the most basic and the most
Yeah.
important question. And I would say that the answer to that is evolving. So there are many ways to get people to sign up, but I would say that there are three specific ways just from your blog. The first one is the thing that we all know, the pop-up.
Hmm.
You throw something in your reader's face. We all have those now. And so those are becoming significantly less successful than they were by the early adopters. The second one would be creating some sort of call to action tag or opt-in tag. So say you're giving away a free ebook and you stick that on your sidebar or, between blog posts, and you're inviting readers to get this free thing in exchange for their email. Both of those things are okay. Now, and here is the great secret of my life. After months of working through direct marketing and marketing information, I stumbled upon this trick and ended up pivoting my blog a year ago to completely test it out. And in the last year, I've grown my base email readership from about 500 subscribers to 7,000 in 1 year. So
Wow.
I would say that this is fairly successful. And this is me creating maybe content once a week, if that. So the idea behind this is turning every single blog post into a lead magnet. So you've got readers on your site. They're reading through a blog post. Now, instead of just leaving them with the recipe, create a little box underneath your recipe or at the bottom of your blog post that offers a free downloadable and ideally a one-page printable that relates to that blog post that you're on. So, for instance, on my website, I went back and did this with all of my most popular blog posts. One of my most viewed blog posts is Kiss Gloss of all, thank you. Thank you, foodies, for not paying attention to my food. We'll take the lip gloss. So, I get thousands of visitors every day on this lip gloss site. So what I did is I went into that blog post, had a graphic designer create a one-page printable that included the recipe that you could find on the website, plus 5 additional ideas, an organic version, a vegan version, different flavors. And all of these things were accessible if the readers wanted to just print off this one-page printable. So it's super cute. You kind of get the benefit of the infographic. It's highly stylized. And now what I have is readers that are like, oh, how great, a free resource. So they print that one little page off. They can stick it in their craft folder or on their fridge. Now I am in their lives every day. They're looking at my logo. Anytime they think, oh, I want to make that lip gloss, they're able to look at it. And in exchange, I get their email address. And in a very natural, non-intrusive way. So I have done these one-page downloadables on dozens and dozens and dozens of different blog posts, and beyond successful, because it's a way to give your readers added value and added benefit and a nice little gift. We all like the pleasant surprise. And then in exchange, all they have to do is give you their email. So, so I am a huge fan right now of building your email list by creating these one-page downloadables or printables and putting them on the end of every single blog post. And the way that I manage that is through lead pages. They have a specific feature called lead boxes.
I was always wondering about that because, the model we have right now is we use MailChimp. And so through MailChimp, you can, on the page where they leave their email address, it then sends them a follow-up page. And that's where you could have the downloadable PDF. But it's just one document. So I was always wondering how people would do that, how they would have different
how do you
documents.
manage dozens and dozens? Yeah, exactly. Well, and I love the lead boxes because you create your lead box and then, so say you have 10 different categories and you want a different downloadable for each category. If you don't want to create a brand new one for every post, then you can that little lead box just sits there on the lead pages site and you can copy and paste the code into the bottom of every blog post that you have on Pi or every blog, if you want to do a Pi downloadable or whatever. Yeah. So the way that you manage that is they have a thing called lead magnet delivery on lead pages. You simply upload your PDF and it can be quite large. The Lead Pages company hasn't put any limit right now on the number of uploads that you can create. So the standard Lead Pages access will allow you to store dozens and dozens and dozens of these PDFs. And then once your little PDF lead magnet is put up, then you just create a lead box and go through that process and integrate it by connecting it with your lead magnet delivery. This all sounds super technical. It's way easy. If I can figure it out as a right brain, as a right brain former teacher, you guys are going to be fine. So anyway, yeah, it's incredibly easy.
And think about it, if you've got this really popular post, let's say, like you made pecan pie for Thanksgiving and it's going crazy on Pinterest and you're getting all this traffic, that's highly targeted traffic. So why not take advantage of their interest in your site while they're there on that page?
Yes, exactly. And this actually makes me realize that I do want to make the point that so many of us will overthink this and we'll be like, oh, you're right. If they are on your site, let's get them 25 additional pie recipes. Girls, ladies, men. No, it's a one-page printable. Make it pretty. You should be able to hire a graphic designer. If you don't know how to do it, create something beautiful for less than $50. And you want it to be a one-page printable because you want it to go on their fridge. You want them to look at it. You want them to refer it. You don't want to use their printer ink and make them hate you. So yes, access that popular pie recipe and then, offer 10 different mix-ins or, the paleo gluten-free vegan versions or whatever if they just print it off. Yes. So exactly. Utilize wherever your traffic is going to bring in leads, but definitely keep those lead magnets simple.
And it's quite possible you might already have something on your site that could be a perfect complementary piece to that. Like, for example, if you did 3 ways to make a pie crust, that would be a great accompaniment to a post like that.
Yes, exactly. I don't think that it's hard to put these things together at all. And, I am actually even considering just offering my recipes. I haven't gone here yet, but even to access the full recipes, I'm going to that printable thing. So I think that, you can get as complex as you want. Yeah, you can get as complex as you want, but, it's like, if someone is sitting here on my site, what wonderful magical surprise can I put in their lap to make their lives easier today? That's your lead magnet. And you put it on the page and you give it to them and people will sign up, en masse and you will love them and they will love you.
And I can imagine how fun that is to see, you get these emails, the summaries saying how much your email list is growing. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Marley, I also think it's so vital too, because it forces you to really think about what added value is your brand offering your readers. If you cannot think of something to give your readers other than a recipe, then you are getting lost in the sea of all of the other people that only do recipes. If you are wondering why your brand is not growing, it's because you're not doing one thing more than everybody else. So now is the opportunity to say, what is my brand about? And what is it that I'm giving these readers? What are the pain points that my readers are facing? Why are they clicking on this? And now what can I give them that's going to be magic? And that really helps you dial in your brand and create a voice and, stand out above the crowd. So, which is so nice, right? Oh, sorry. Now you've got me on all the stuff I love to talk about. One of the things I think as bloggers, we're so afraid of selling. We wanted the easy traffic that just kind of brings in the ads so that we don't have to sell. And it's like, no, it's time to really rethink this. And I think that this lead magnet way is a nice way to feel like I am giving you a thing that's hugely important to you and I'm going to give it for free. And then I'm going to also understand in the meantime what it is that you like so that I can give you more at a price, So it also helps you dial in your audience and what their needs are so that you can later sell things and make money. So
don't you think a little bit of that is related to our self-value? In other words, do we create value on the contribution that we're putting on our blogs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many of us too don't yet understand how to sell because we've been able to just create content. And so learning the ins and outs of, I get the icky feeling about feeling like, a salesperson. Yes. But when you start to see people giving you their email addresses, when you start to say, I'm creating something of value for these people, then it starts to help you turn it and say, what other service can I do that people would want to pay for? And then you don't feel like a schmoozy used car salesman. And you start to gain confidence because you're like, wow, of all of my lead magnets, 400% more signups on this specific category. So now I feel confident creating an ebook and emailing those people directly and saying, you were just at my site, you downloaded this pie thing. Now here are my, 50 best vegan pies. And your confidence level goes up because you're gaining this
Right.
understanding into your audience and what is it that they want and need, what are they willing to download. And so how can you get into their inbox and give them more of what they want?
That's what I love about some of these tools. Like I also use CoSchedule, and so it sounds like that, and also lead pages would give you. It's really like a source of research on your own blog, because I can tell you that my sweet potato veggie burger does really well, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have that data coming at me. I mean, I guess I could have known that because I could have gone into Google Analytics, but I'm just saying it's nice to have it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, and it's I would say it's extra nice with these lead magnets because again, if they're willing to give you their email, in the day and age where all of us want our precious emails to not be spread around, then this is already a huge step in the the ladder rung of success to say, okay, they trusted me enough or they liked what I was creating enough to give me their email. And so now I have this really clear understanding into what people are finding useful. And not just useful, but important enough to give an email for. So
Exactly. So okay, so now we've got our list and it's growing.
yeah.
Now, what do we do with that list, Brooke? I mean, I've seen different examples of what people do. Like, some people don't do anything, or some people will send, every new post goes automatically to their feed, or some will do what they call more like a weekly newsletter that kind of recaps things from the week.
Yes. So I would say there are obviously lots of ways to go about this, but I'm going to give you the top 3 secrets that I have kind of culled, again, from working with clients and then also reading a variety of marketing books and these would be the 3 secrets that I think will make you stand out. Secret number 1, send an email as if, don't make it fancy. Nobody wants some but other big brands fancy schmancy newsletter. It feels impersonal. So from Tim Ferriss from the 4-Hour Workweek, you send a plain text email with your reader's name in the main field as if it is just an email from you. I think that tut.com does a really good job of this.
I signed up for that based on your recommendation, and it is really good.
Are you? I bet you're opening almost every day because it's such a pleasure to get. Yeah,
I have this long list, and I pick that one first.
Yes, which is just total email brilliance. I mean, that's what we're all going for. So first of all, sign up for tut.com and just watch that email campaign come in and see what their secret is. But plain text email, forget the graphics, forget all the fancy stuff. Keep it short and simple. One of the brands that I launched, our big kind of brand push behind our newsletter was 5-word daily emails, because we wanted to give people a reason to click open. And so it's like, oh, I want to see what 5 words they picked today. How are they doing this? And so, you would click open and then 5 little words would come up and they were just words. No, big gimmicks, no giant graphics, just very, very simple. So number 1, write in plain text as if you're writing to a friend, and make sure that you're titling your title field something that is not overly salesy or not true. So you don't want it to be like the 7 best. You want people to come to trust you. So send nice emails from you to them. They're 4,000 people are not reading these emails. One person is opening your email in their house, and they need to feel like it's a personal connection. Yes. The second thing is create a specific branded idea that people are interested in, are intrigued by. So again, 5-word email, or in the example of tut.com. Their idea is these letters from the universe. And so you just get these super delightful emails every single day as if the universe is writing to you or sending you a message. It's such a pleasure. You just have to open it. You open it up, plain text, cute little letter from the universe, love the universe. And then right below that, they put a couple of links to content that either they're trying to sell or they want you to click on. Again, plain text links, super simple. And interesting tidbit from Tut, at the end of all of that, they put a fun little PS, so you actually want to scroll all the way to the end. So yeah, come up with a really clever branded idea. Is it, is it, I don't know, your a daily one sentence and they always start with the word unicorn? Is it, be creative. Right. Don't do what everybody else is doing, but do it. And, if you have to hire a copywriter to kind of put some ideas together, I just did that with my new email list. I wanted a 2-sentence kind of recap of the day. And so I hired a copywriter who could just blow out a whole year's worth, 365 emails or whatever it was. I think it was 300 because we're not mailing on the weekends. And I just was like, while you are thinking about this, can you just create 300 of these? And it cost me $300. And so now every day I just copy and paste into my email inbox. So if it's tips or tricks or ideas or, whatever it is, come up with something that is standard and give your readers intrigue your readers into wanting to open that newsletter. And then number 3,
it provides them value that way too.
Yes, exactly. More than just, it's an update. I can check the blog later if I need to. Exactly. It's another recipe. I have too much to cook and I'm on a diet this week or whatever. There are so many reasons and excuses that people give to not open your email. You have to give them the excuse to want to open it. So, conjure something clever. And then number 3, and this is the scary one, you guys, send it every day. One of my clients that I worked with was sending a weekly newsletter. Another client was sending a monthly newsletter. We started talking them into a daily, very short, plain text email newsletter format. And traffic click-throughs absolutely skyrocketed, and they skyrocketed consistently. One of them went from about 150 to 700 daily views to more than 2,100 daily views just based on the principle of a daily newsletter. I recognize that this is hard to manage sometimes, so don't do it in the early days or if you're drowning. You want those newsletters to be high quality, but hold that up as kind of the ideal, is getting to a point where you can email your readers every day. And I think that also is a good way to help you kind of disconnect from the idea that it always has to be your content. Yes. Let your newsletter be the separate magical thing so that it could be sent every day. It should be its own little campaign, and it should be a campaign that supports your site, but it doesn't have to be full support for your site. Anyone can click through your blog at any time. So what are your newsletter people getting every day that makes them excited to open it and see what's going on?
Right. And think about the engagement with your blog that happens if that's the case. Even if they're not actually on your blog, they're thinking about it.
Yeah. And, then every now and then you can link them to your site or your Facebook or to your friends or whatever. And, all of a sudden you've completely revolutionized. I mean, you have broken through the online chaos because you are no longer relying on someone stumbling across your picture on Pinterest and then pinning it and then repinning it. Now you're sitting in their inbox.
And then Pinterest changes their algorithm and then you don't get that anymore.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And stumble upon implodes and Facebook decides that you have to pay for everything. Right. As soon as you have their email, you are sitting there in front of their face in this very private space, kind of this namaste place. So use it. It's profound. And especially if you can figure it out, it's a profound way to break through the noise.
So let's talk a little bit about the software that you use to actually get your emails out. I mean, for example, I mentioned that I'm on MailChimp. There's Mad Mimi. I mean, do you have a preferred software that you use?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's the question. I've seen this debated a lot. I don't love the pricing of Mailchimp, especially as my email list continues to grow.
Yes.
It becomes very painful to carry those emails around. I understand that Maripost is the most successful getting through spam. But their pricing is just like blow your mind out of the water, crazy. I've never tried Mad Mimi. I've never really done Infusionsoft. I've been on MailChimp and I'm so happy with it. It integrates into lead pages perfectly, so it works for me in that way. It's easy for me to organize and manage. So, I think that for people who are constantly having to learn new techniques with tech, MailChimp for me has just been simple and peaceful. So,
Yes, exactly. And so I
yeah.
assume that you use an autoresponder. Is that correct to, kind of manage all of this?
Yeah, and so I have a girl who manages my newsletters. My current newsletters are on hold until the new site goes live because, of course, I have a new
Yes.
campaign with the new site. But yeah, that is one of those things that I finally decided that I could let go of. And so I try to
I
just
see.
create
Right.
a 1 year plan as far as content because I do want to make sure that I feel comfortable about the content that's going out. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
I hired a copywriter to create my emails. I approve and edit all of those emails, and then I hand them off to a virtual assistant who is taking care of all of that stuff for me. And so, yeah, autoresponders will happen. I have everything. Of course, if any of my readers click reply, I get
Right.
their emails because I want them to feel like there's a responsiveness there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm currently working on managing sales funnels through my email as well. Of course, the kind of peak of everything is that we're watching, who's replying and who's opening. And once they open, let's get them in this funnel so that now they know, that we don't just have a pie cookbook, we have a pie class or whatever.
Yes.
I'm not that far yet, but it's certainly
That's
an
the goal.
anticipated hope. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's the other thing I wanted to point out is that as your email newsletter list grows, so does the cost of the emails that you send out. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. Well, managing through at least MailChimp, it's managing the list it starts to get pretty hefty pretty quick.
Yeah.
They have pretty tiny boundaries. Like once you're past 2,500, then like the next level is like 2,750, and you're like, wait, I'm there already.
Exactly.
If only I could be this successful in all of the levels of things that I try. So
Yeah.
yeah, as far as I know, the only thing that I'm paying for is to manage my MailChimp list every month, and that number is quite high, but I do not have to pay for individual emails.
I see, right. But that is the one thing, it's like as your email, it's exciting to see your email newsletter list grow, but then also that there's an expense related to that. But that's
Yes.
probably it's probably a short-sighted way of looking at it. You have to think of it as the growth of your site and your business.
Yeah, and I think that it's also, again, that's a call to your brand to say, what added value am I creating?
Mm-hmm.
Once I have these email subscribers, what am I doing? You'd better be thinking through that. Create an ebook, create a program, get in touch with them, become an affiliate for a multi-level marketing company. There are so many different ways to turn money once you have a captive audience. You don't have to be the sole content creator. But yeah, if you're going to be carrying around that list, you better be doing something with it. And if not, that's money every month that you're throwing away. They say that you can assume $10 per month from 10% of your email list. And so say you have, 1,000 email subscribers, you should be making, 10 times 100 every month. And so if you're doing things right, that's kind of the hope, is that your email subscriber base becomes a subscriber base for whatever it is that you decide that you're going to sell.
Oh, that's very inspirational. And the other thing I find really inspiring, Brooke, is that I love the fact that you're hiring people to do these things for you, because I really feel like as bloggers, and I'm pointing the finger at myself, it is easy to want to do everything ourselves.
Yeah, it is. We have a huge and profound pride in what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic. And that's the thing that really helped me kind of rethink myself as not just a person, but a brand. When I was like, oh, in a company, say Steve Jobs at Apple, the reason that he is so successful is he manages the final message. And so if I create the vision and then I find people to help me create a message and then I manage the final message,
Right.
then that's all still my creation. I set the vision in
Yes.
place. I decided what the words would be. I decided what the focus would be. That's all still mine. And so when I finally realized, like, no, I can find other talented people to help me kind of support this brand voice and this vision that I've created. Oh, wow. It's so nice to free up the schedule a little bit and have time to go on a jog,
Yes,
instead
and
of
have a
like
life again.
frantically pinning. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If you're sitting in front of the computer all the time, it's not a fun life.
Right. No, we
Yeah.
have such a great job. We should
Yes.
feel great amounts of freedom if we're wise with the way that we manage it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. And plus, I also feel like it actually frees up your brain thinking.
Yes.
That's highly technical language there. But no, it frees us up a little bit so that, we can stay on the creative side and hire people
Yes.
to do the writing or whatever. And then of course rewrite it or edit it into your own voice, but
Right.
somehow not to be responsible for these things happening over the broad swath of your blog.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I remember I had this wonderful class that I used to go to with this woman who said over and over again, your energy is your currency. And once it's
Ah,
spent, it's gone. And
yes.
I think that that is such a profound thing, especially in the realm of creative energy,
Yeah, I think
that
so.
you don't have endless, boundless amounts of it. So you do have to decide, where is the one place or two places that you are, most
Hmm.
indispensable, and then throw your energy into that and let go a little bit. And by let go, it doesn't mean that you have to let go and do things poorly. In fact, the whole hope is bringing, good quality VAs, or jobbing out maybe copywriting or whatever. Your quality actually goes up because you have the time and focus to put into it, rather than just being spread so thin.
Exactly. And plus, as you're adding to your team, if those people have a knowledge from having worked on other clients' work, they might bring in a perspective that you hadn't thought of, and that makes it even better.
Yes, exactly. And just going back to this email stuff, one of the things that I found most interesting through working with this client in the fitness industry, and honestly, this really blew my mind in kind of a sad way, was how many of these high was that were how many of these highly successful fitness celebrities are pulling in massive amounts of money, more than most of us bloggers are like gripping onto with our, white knuckles.
Yeah.
And a huge, huge portion of what they are doing is just supporting each other's product projects. And so they're pulling together webinars, they're creating masterminds, they're pitching other people's books. In fact, the one client that I worked with had his book go to New York Times bestselling author, and he had no concern at all selling that as one of the perks, because he knew that he had access to dozens and dozens of fitness friends email lists, because they had promised it to him. And I'm a little sad that we in the blogging industry kind of end up being a little selfish. We are not collaborating as much as we should. We have
Yes.
so much space to help each other grow and kind of, reach into that space of abundance, that if we're running ourselves ragged, we need to really start rethinking the way that we are collaborating, whether it's with other people on our own brand or just with other people. So I feel really, really strongly about the amount of growth that we as bloggers can do to work together and work with other people.
I love that. That's such a, topic of inspiration, and I hope everybody, listens to that and realizes that, the more we can work together, the stronger we are.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. Yeah, there's so much that we can do, and we don't have to do it by ourselves, and we do more when we don't do it by ourselves. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So hire a copywriter and send those daily emails. Go.
Get going. I love it. This has been such a great conversation, and I could ask you, I think I could talk to you all day, Brooke, but I think I'd like to just ask you a couple of quick questions about your blog itself. For example, what's your favorite social media platform that you're using right now?
Primary are Facebook and Instagram. And then I am having a wild and mad love affair with Photo. That it's PHHHOTO, and it's kind of like instant gifs. And as soon as I went on that platform, I was like, this is total brilliance. So those are kind of the three where my focus is. And then I auto push Facebook to Twitter. So it appears that I'm on Twitter, but not very often.
Ah, I see. But you found a way that works for you, and that's good. I actually haven't heard of Photo before.
No?
I feel out of the loop.
Don't. Because when I got on, I realized that all four of my children had Photo accounts for like the last year, and I didn't even know they were using it. So
oh my gosh.
You can't possibly be more out of the loop than me. It's really fun. So basically what Photo does is you you push the button kind of like Instagram, and it takes 5 pictures and then instantly pulls them into a GIF. And so it's kind of like just creating mini movies, but without sound, without the stress of needing to figure out sound and editing equipment. So it's just a really fun way to add a little bit of motion to your Instagram account or whatever without having to pull out all the video stops.
Cool. I can't wait to check that out. I'll leave a link in the show notes page for everybody too. That sounds like fun.
Perfect.
I always tell everybody the best thing to do anyway, even if you don't intend to use it, is at least get in there, set up an account, and secure your username.
Yes, it's true. Exactly, right? And then if it blows up, nobody else can steal it. Good idea.
That's right. At least you've got your blog's name there.
Exactly.
So what's your number one tip for other food bloggers who may be trying to grow their audience?
Wow, that is a good question. I would say, I would say email newsletters for sure. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm going to say that the second thing other than your email newsletter list is starting to collaborate. I actually am pulling together in 2016 what is called the Collaborative Cookbook Club, because after a year of saying, I need to create an ebook, I just could not get it done. I don't have the time to shoot a whole ebook. And so I was like, well, what if we could just take 50 good bloggers and everybody just gives us one picture? Well, then we can create an ebook every single month, and every blogger can own that ebook and sell that ebook however they want. And it was unbelievable. I had 50 bloggers raising their hands in, a matter of days, and had filled ebook number 1 in no time at all. And so I think looking for opportunities to work with other people and collaborate, so that you're not carrying the heavy burden, but you are creating, highly digestible content that can also potentially be sold, is a really great way to start stepping into the, potentially ad-free future. So
that is a great idea. I love that. And just thinking outside the box like that is beautiful.
Yeah, there's so much that we can do. We as bloggers have access to an incredible audience and loyal readers and incredible social connections. I think that there are a lot of ways that we can be coming together and benefiting each other that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so normally at this point, I like to ask what's coming up next for you, but I think what your answer to that is that you've got this new site redesign coming out.
Yeah, a new site redesign, and I'm actually launching a YouTube channel with really just kind of behind the scenes food photography and business tips for bloggers and online brands. So yeah, come on over and figure out all the secrets.
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
If you'll be able to find it through cheekykitchen.com.
Okay.
If you just click on video, then it'll link you directly to all of the playlists. So yeah, so I'm excited to finally get into video. I think that there's a big, huge horizon there that is waiting to be ridden into.
Yeah, we're just tapping into that now as well. It definitely has its own learning curve, but I know that there's a lot of rewards with it as well.
Yes, it's also the single most motivational way to make yourself shower in the morning. If you know you're going to be videoing, it's amazing how quickly you'll hop in the bathtub.
It's so true. Those are one of the tips of working from home. Find ways to make yourself take a shower.
Exactly. Yeah. After 8 years of basically living in yoga pants, I'm finally like color coordinating my shoes with my earrings. Yeah. It's a miracle.
Miracles happen. So here at the end of the interview, I just have just a couple of fun, quick questions I'd like to ask people. So what's one food item you can't live without?
Oh, macadamia nuts.
Wow, that's a good one. I honestly have not had them very often, but when I do, I really do like them.
Oh, they are. It's just like little bombs of sheer nut pleasure. They're just so good.
Do you eat them plain or dipped? I think Costco sells them dipped in chocolate.
Oh, that would be such an issue in my life.
Yes.
That would
I think if I had that, if I had that around too much, I'd be in trouble. I wouldn't be in my yoga pants anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, macadamia nuts are even good. Like, I know it sounds surprising, but vegans make cheese out of it, and it's just really good stuff.
Yes. They're just like cashews, except more tropical. It's amazing.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm going to have to put that on my list then. I can't wait to try more of them.
Oh, good. Do it.
What's the favorite app on your phone?
Favorite app? Right now it's photo. I really am enjoying photo.
Cool. Okay, yeah. I'm going to have to try that out. It's on my list. Okay. Do you have time for TV at all? And if so, what's your favorite show?
No, I don't. But every 5 months or so, I'll just to go totally underwater. And I just watched the Robert Durst documentary on HBO. Uh-huh. And it was 6 hours of pure crack watching. I totally recommend it if you like documentaries. So it's called The Jinx, and that was awesome.
It sounds really good. Is it
oh my gosh,
different topics?
It's amazing. No, yeah, it's about a guy who has been convicted of a murder, and it is the most riveting 6 hours that I've spent laid on my bed in so long. So, yeah.
And it's called The Jinx.
The Jinx, yeah.
Yeah.
Really a good
one. And
one.
It's real, right? A real story, not...
It is. It's totally a true story, and the storyline behind it is incredible. And the last 10 minutes of that documentary, I mean, you already think it's amazing, and then the last 10 minutes basically just melt your head off. It's just unbelievable. They just totally pull it together. So,
oh, I can't wait to put that on our show list. That sounds great.
Perfect.
So, Brooke, how can people find you online?
I am available at cheekykitchen.com, and that will have all of my contact information. So if you want to contact me with any question, I am an open book, and I really believe in sharing all of the secrets that are working. So yeah, feel free. If anybody heard anything that they want to ask more about, buzz me a line.
I love it. Brooke, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you, Marley. I'm so delighted that we could.
Thanks to Brooke Lark for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. If you were busy running around and couldn't jot down something important, don't worry, we took the notes for you. Just head on over to choppedcon.com where I put up links for each show, including the stuff we talked about today, and more information about our guests. I hope you're loving the Chopped Podcast. If so, it would mean the world to me if you'd head over to iTunes or Stitcher and give it a review. You can do that right now. Also, you can spread the word about the Chopped Podcast using @ChoppedCon on Twitter or Instagram, or even Facebook. Your shout-outs really mean a lot. You inspire me, so I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening and have a great week.